Hey guys, Rail the Appreciator here, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be doing a song reaction to Chains and Whips by Clipse featuring Kendrick Lamar. I'm so excited to listen to this track and talk about it and just all the lyrics, so let's get into it. Alright, so let's delve deeper into the track. So you can see it's Clipse, Kendrick Lamar, Pusha T and Malice, produced by Pharrell Williams of course, and on the chorus it's Pusha T with "Uncle said dude you must be sick, all you talk about is just getting rich, choke my neck and ice my B, beat the system with chains and whips," and then the motif throughout the entire album being "this is culturally inappropriate." So Clipse have done some genius interviews about their songs and lyrics. I think it's Chains and Whips and also Ace Trumpets coming out soon. It says here on the chorus, Pusha T states that the beat was so good that he struggled to think of more lyrics other than this chorus made by Pharrell Williams. Apparently this chorus is also supposed to be what Pharrell thinks of when he thinks of Clipse. Uncle said, dude, you must be sick. So the uncle could be, not like about Pusha T's literal uncle, but maybe about Uncle Sam, being America personified. But also, in line with having Kendrick on the track, as his Super Bowl performance used Uncle Sam imagery with Samuel L. Jackson. Uncle Sam / America often trivializes and looks down upon rap as having only materialistic values, explaining the uncle's sentiment. Other than here referring to Uncle Sam, it could be referring to Shannon Sharp, who had Jim Jones on his podcast and a heated exchange over Jones' disrespect towards Nas. Notably, this is the same Jim Jones that Pusha T is dissing in the following lines of this track. So yeah, Uncle said, dude, you must be sick. All you talk about is just getting rich. So he's just so fascinated and addicted and focused on making money. Choke my neck and ice my B. So it's a clever quadruple entendre, which is pretty crazy. Choking someone, physically, like choking them could be like sexual in a way. It would also be reference to jewelry, like chains could weigh more, make it feels like it's choking your neck, like a thick Cuban link chain. It could also be a reference to racial terrorism that was used against African Americans, being lynching, where they'd be hung by their necks from a rope. And then also, lastly, it is subverting the expected, as usually one would say ice their neck and choke their bitch. Beat the system with chains and whips. Usually people would say whips and chains, but I like that they flipped it to chains and whips. So the crazy wordplay here is, the whole scheme is on the history of slavery. Slaves are often chained and whipped and beaten into submission by whoever claimed ownership over them. And Pusha T, being an African American man, has risen to exceptional levels of wealth, power, and success. Yep. So, he overcame systemic structural racism by accumulating wealth. In this case, whips not being like the physical whip, but it's being more like whips being cars, and chains, not the physical, the metallic chains, being jewelry. And it could be possibly referring to how him and his brother, along with Pharrell, have overcome high fashion's historic aversion to African Americans and other people of color. They've changed the whole fashion world with their fashion choices and trend setting, which is very, very true. And proven by, this track was previewed at the Louis Vuitton show, which is run by Pharrell, who's the men's creative director out in Paris. And then finally, the last line on the chorus, ending it with the recurring motif throughout the entire album being, "This is culturally inappropriate." Pusha T on the first verse with, "You run from the spirit of repossession." So this track is definitely targeted at Jim Jones, as in 2019 it was reported that Jim Jones and his longtime partner and later fiance lost their mansion in New Jersey to foreclosure after defaulting on mortgage payments since 2010. Per a lawsuit at the time, they owed over $1.2 million. That is just absolutely crazy, and I'm glad Pusha T is coming straight for Jim Jones' neck after all the disrespect that he's received from him. Too much enamel cover your necklace. So, in the jewelry industry, enamel is a protective coating on a higher quality metal on top of a lower quality metal. So for example, jewelry can be made of cheap metals as nickel or brass, but coated in a thick enamel coating which made of better metals like gold, platinum, and silver that won't tarnish or irritate the skin. This practice allows for expensive looking jewelry or to be cheaper to produce and therefore more affordable as opposed to a pure silver necklace. And here Pusha T is calling out Jim Jones as a poser living beyond his means as he sees beyond his appearances. I buy B's, you buy him sections. You buy watches, I buy collections. So he buys B's, you buy him sections, could be like sections in the club, you're buying them like drinks. You buy watches, just individual singular watches, but he buys full collections of watches. I really like Pusha T because he's known for coke rap, but also Clipse on this track is like more luxurious rap, but also talking down on pre-existing luxury because it's not on the same level as them, which is just absolutely like, it's like quite a flex, like listening to this whole album and it's just Pusha T and Malice kind of just like dissing people for being poorer than them. But I love listening to this kind of rap. It's just done so well. It's just so great. Misery's fueling your aggression. Jealousy's turned into obsession. So, you know, misery is making them feel regressed, but also jealousy's, you know, turned into an obsession. Like, you're so obsessed with this person, you're so jealous of them, the life they're living, the things they're doing. Just, yeah, really like ugly behavior when you have like that feeling of jealousy and hate, and just feeling miserable about yourself because you're not on the same level or living the same life as someone else, which I'm guessing Pusha T is talking about Jim Jones seeing Pusha T in that way, or seeing Nas in that way, which is really well put. Reality TV is mud wrestling. So here Pusha T states that he's had offers to star in reality TV shows several times, but he's always declined as he thinks it doesn't look fun and it looks scripted, which is very true. Malice suggests that you won't make good money off of reality TV on a moral basis. Some sign checks I know better than. So unlike some of his rap peers, Pusha knows it's not all good money is good. Not all money is good money. This line is targeted in particular towards Jim Jones, who receives signed reality TV checks, not for his raps, but for his love life, as he appeared in Love and Hip Hop New York, and 2 short-lived spin-offs based on his relationship with Chrissy Lampkin. Like, it's so incredible, like, how Pusha T finds ways to like diss Jim Jones and really hit him where it hurts and just tell that harsh absolute truth. Beware of my name that there is delicate, so just be very careful when you mention Pusha T, because he's a very dangerous and evil individual. You know how I know where you're delicate. Press you to pieces, I'll hum a breath of it. I will close your heaven for the hell of it. That's just such like a very well put like line in the verse. I'll close your heaven for the hell of it. He'll like close your heaven, like the place where you can feel like safe and happy, but he'll do it for the hell of it. You know, maybe he's like sadistic and he just enjoys that type of stuff. You'd think it would be valor amongst veterans. The Jim Jones mixtape and studio album On My Way to Church released in 2004, Clipse first studio album Lord Willin released in 2002, and Pusha T and Malice and Jim Jones have all been in the rap game for over 2 decades, making them all veterans of hip hop. But in the military, valor is acts of courage, bravery, and heroic conduct, often displayed in the face of danger or adversity. And in the Clip's lyrical content, loyalty and honor are constant themes, as Pusha is expected that they're given mutual status as long-term veterans in rap, that there would be honor and camaraderie among them, which was voided by, you know, Jim Jones's disrespect to Clipse to Pusha T. That's a very cool line. I like that one a lot. I'm watching your fame escape relevance. So this line is directed to Jim Jones, meaning he still chases clout, still holding on to fame, but it's slipping from his fingers. He might still be visible, but no longer important. People know your name, but they don't check you for your music. You're loud, but you don't matter. The Jim Jones is still public visibility through interviews, podcasts, memes, and viral moments. But his musical relevance, you know, being the chart impact, cultural influence, is nowhere near Dipset era prime. Pusha is saying, people might still recognize your face, but nobody's running to hear your next song. The game moved on. Your fame is still around, but your influence is gone. You're famous, but irrelevant. That is just incredibly so detailed and disrespectful. I love it. We all in the room, but here's the elephant. You chasing a feature out your element. So in an interview with Complex, Jim Jones crowns Drake as the greatest rapper of all time, which is so stupid. And he reiterates the claim that on the same Rap Caviar podcast interview where he discredits Pusha's legacy. Pusha notes the real reason for Jim's posturing, he's trying to get a verse from Drake for one of his songs, which just makes so much sense. And Push lets Jim know that not only does he see through his facade, but everybody else does, including the fans. Pusha lets Jim know that he'll most likely be unsuccessful in his attempts due to Drake being of a much higher level stardom compared to that of Jim. So brutal. And those lab diamonds under inspection, so you know, just fabricated diamonds created in a lab, not real. The question marks block your blessing. I found this line interesting because, you know, the line calls out to the fear of being exposed or living behind a fake image prevents real growth and favor. You're too busy second guessing or keeping up appearances to receive what's meant for you. But also in Super Mario, you know, the question mark blocks the power-ups, being the blessings. There's no tombstones in the desert, and you know, Tombstone is a famous Western movie. And then the closing line on his verse, I know by now you get the message. Like, Jim Jones should know this verse is about him, and everything Pusha is saying should be hitting deep, cutting real deep, you know, Very, very disrespectful, very brutal, just a complete breakdown of his character. It's just, this is an incredible verse. I love it. Then we've got the chorus again, and then on the second verse, we've got Malice with, "It don't take much to put two and two. Your lucky streak is now losing you. Money's dried up like a cuticle." So, the cuticle being a layer of dead, or in this case, dry skin in the nail, the base of the nail. And he's saying whoever he's speaking to has been losing their cash flow of recent, because their lucky streak is losing them, stated in the previous bar. And it's possible it's a shot at Drake for like he's losing, power of attracting more streams on songs, and been losing his effectiveness ever since his rap battle with Kendrick Lamar in 2024. And also strengthened by the fact that Kendrick is featured on the song, which came at a heavy price. You're gasping for air now, it's beautiful. Malice is criticizing people who make money off a large part of who they are as a person. He states that he has learned that with or without money, he's still truly the man that he is. And he's not afraid of losing money, as opposed to people whose identity relies on wealth. John 10:10, that's my usual. So Bible verse John 10:10 reads, "The thief, being the devil, comes but to kill, steal, and destroy. But I, being Jesus, come so that you may have life, and life more abundantly." In the Gospel of John, Jesus says, I just said it then, abundantly. Malice could be applying that John 10:10 to reflect on the rap game as a spiritual battleground between between what kills your soul, being fake fame, violence, and greed, and what gives life, purpose, truth, art, connection, and faith. And it's a reminder that anyone can choose which force to feed. The real abundance goes way deeper than just buying jewelry and cars. Mamas is falling out in funerals, so a callback to Pusha T's song "Come Back Baby." It's really just mamas falling out on the Reverend. It refers to how a mother collapsing in grief at the funeral of her child who died too soon, usually due to street violence or criminal activity. But Malice speaks on it about something unremarkable, casual, to be expected, and usual due to the dangerous lives that they live. Embalmed and bloat, they now view in you. They never find the guns, but the sewers do. So he dives further with the funerary theme being, giving a visual description of a body being prepared, being embalmed and bloat for an open casket funeral. And, view in you when they do the viewing. In contrast to the body being held and seen at the funeral, the guns that would belong to the dead individual are gone without a trace, being dropped into the sewer, onto a river or a lake. That's just a crazy two-line. I really love Malice on this album. He just has such incredible verses. He doesn't swear on the verses, I think. And it's just incredible writing. His pen is still so sharp, even though he's been out of the game for so long and he doesn't rap that often. But he's just such a great, technical, gifted, and skilled rapper. It's incredible. Bubbles was sick, he needed medicine. Brought him back to life, now he dead again. So Malice confirmed in the Genius Verified video that his lyrics about, the Wire character being Reginald Bubbles' cousin is a recovering drug addict and a confidential informant due to his knowledge of the Baltimore street life. Richard don't make watches for president. So, Richard Mille being the upscale and exclusive watch brand, more, exclusive than Rolex, who makes the presidential. The lowest price Richard Mille will cost you at least $80,000. With the model below going for $500,000, whereas you can cop a Rolex Presidential for under $20,000. So back again with a luxurious rap and just saying how he's living way more luxurious and is way more rich, buys way more expensive things than you do. And then following that line with just $1 million trapped between skeletons. So the annotation refers to the preceding line, noting that the Richard Mille watches are priced above $1 million. Their signature design features a skeletonized case, which is transparent, allowing a clear view of the intricate and valuable movement inside. But it could also be, seen as a multitude of souls suspended between their next incarnations. This is the darkest that I ever been. So I'm guessing it's just the most evil and villainous that Malice has ever felt, and just the things he's rapping about. The diamonds make you taste peppermint. So, peppermint flavor creates that cold sensation in your mouth. And he's saying, the jewelry is so icy that you can taste it. You ain't thrive in the snow like it's The Revenant. I love this line. So The Revenant being, the Academy Award-winning film starring Leonardo DiCaprio, released in 2015. And the plot is based on the real-life frontiersman who survived a bear attack and when left for dead by his companions and managed to crawl back, several hundred miles through the harsh conditions back to civilization. But Malice is referring to this, to imply that he prospers in the snow, being, like cocaine, an allusion to cocaine, the same way that the main character in The Revenant managed to survive against all odds. Such a beautiful line. I love it so much. And then it continues with, and send orders back down and keep shoveling. So revenant is someone who's returned from the dead. So, and send orders back down and keep shoveling suggests that Malice sees people return from death and often sends them back. And then continues again with the chorus, but then there's a post-chorus with Pharrell Williams and Kendrick Lamar. Oh yeah, when things get dark and your number gets called, and you look to the side like, what did they say? And it ain't the Lord's voice, then you realize that it's the devil that's talking to you. So Pharrell steps in like a whisper from the shadows, delivering a haunting reflection on moral reckoning. When the fast life catches up and death feels near, it ain't salvation calling, it's temptation, consequence, and guilt. And this line flips the spiritual expectation being, you thought it was God, but it's the devil. And it ties the whole song together, being material obsession, corrupted motives, and false success, all a lead to reckoning, but this is not divine. It's a warning in falsetto, smooth but chilling. I just love this post-chorus. It's just, really, really works well with the track, and especially when you have the Kendrick verse coming up. Alright, let's look at the Kendrick verse, the moment you've all been waiting for, the most anticipated verse, the verse with Kendrick. So the process of getting Kendrick's verse on the track, cost Push a lot of money, as Def Jam requested for them to remove Kendrick from the song, but they denied, and the decision ended up making Def Jam drop the Clipse, and later Clipse signed to Roc Nation. So obviously they had to pay a lot of money, and then also they're going to get money from new album release, just a small percentage of it. And he later revealed in a recent interview that the reason they wanted Kendrick to be removed is because of a Trump line, which is Trump card, but he thinks it's just an excuse to get Kendrick off the track, and the real reason that he believes is because of the feud with Drake and the whole thing with the lawsuit with UMG going on, which we know about. And Kendrick's latest verse is a lyrical tour de force built on a relentless Gen rhyme scheme, a callback to his nostalgia flow, but with even denser wordplay, as here he morphs the suffix into a weapon, bending words to fit his cadence, while weaving in themes of power, legacy, and self-mastery. Kendrick doesn't just rhyme with Gen, he reinvents it, stretching the sound across direct rhymes, being gentle kind, agenda of mine, give me mine, and assonance and slant rhymes being Genesis, Ginger Root, Genitals, Gen Z, and the wordplay being gentrified, Genovese, General, and Jinx. I'm so excited to go through the lines of this verse. Just so technical and so beautiful just to listen to. I'm not the candidate to vibe with. I don't F with the kumbaya-ish. All that talent must be God sent. I send your ass back to the cosmics. So the opening bars reflect on Kendrick's willingness to get into rap beef, and if need be, Kumbaya is an African-American spiritual which pleads to God to help those in need. And in recent years, politicians have used the song's title to represent compromising in times of war. But Kendrick also mentioned the word Kumbaya in the song, Luther with Scissor. He is a fan, he a flop, they just want a Kumbaya. Nah. Kendrick's wordplay, being God-sent talent, followed by the line, I send your ass back to the cosmics, sheds light on the fact that he is the actual messiah of hip-hop, with God being the first word in the first line, and then I in the following one. This may also come across as a diss towards any self-proclaimed rapper that Kendrick finger-flicked back to the cosmics, where their talent came from, most notably being Drake, who for many years, until last year, carried the persona of being untouchable and arrogant. The clever wordplay connects to the later line being, how many Judases has done let me down, where Kendrick reflects on the betrayals he's faced within hip-hop. In the hip-hop world, reaffirming his commitment to the essence of the art form, the true craft and values of hip-hop being, lyrical substance, intricate rhyming, and creative flows, especially at a time where many have strayed away from the path set by pioneers like Rakim. These 4 lines are just incredible to open the verse with. The things that I seen under my eyelids, kaleidoscope dreams, murder, and sirens. So it refers to the images and scenes that Kendrick can see with his eyes closed, meaning the thoughts and visions he's had whilst meditating, or could be a reference to his dreams. The latter interpretation being, kaleidoscope dreams, murder, and sirens. Kaleidoscope is an optical instrument used for its beautiful ever-changing patterns and can be used by artists and designers for creating patterns. Kaleidoscope dreams often feature vivid and colorful imagery in parallel to the harsh reality that Kendrick faces. The line may also allude to the 2012 album by R&B singer Miguel, who described similar experiences that influenced his production. Let's be clear, hip-hop died again. Half of my profits may go to Rakim. The Kendrick, referring to his untitled promotional single, reiterates his belief that rap as a genre has experienced a significant backslide in its messaging and talent pool. I completely agree with, and that such a backslide has led to the proverbial death of what was once considered the genre's greatest strengths. So the hip hop died again line is a callback, to Nas' proclamation in the state of hip hop during the mid 2000s, going as far to title his 8th studio album "Hip Hop Is Dead" in the process. Nas' statement caused controversy and outrage at the time that many people within the genre, namely Southern hip hop artists, involved. For Nas, the motivation behind such a statement was how it was perceived, and the quality of music was cheapened by certain artists. And Kendrick, as he said in September 2024, is therefore implying that similar issues are once more affecting rap in the current decade. Completely true once again. Backing up his personal statement, Kendrick mentions that his success is partially owed to the influence of legendary East Coast rapper being Rakim, who is considered to be one of the first rappers to prioritize the concepts of flow, intricate rhyming, and lyrical substance as the main factors in his material. And Kendrick, furthermore, could also be referencing the 1987 Eric B. and Rakim Paid in Full track in stating that he may owe Rakim half of his profits. Can be interpreted as either finance or in the level of respect given to Kendrick in the music industry, thereby making Rakim whole. But also, it might be Kendrick implying the usage of a double entendre between Rakim and the phrase rock him, given that he mentions the traitorous biblical prophet Judas in the next line. So Jesus asks all his followers to grab a mighty rock and carry it to the top of the giant hill to pray. Judas decides to be lazy and takes a tiny pebble with him. Everyone carries the rocks to the top, and Jesus leads the prayer. After they finish, while everyone is tired and hungry, Jesus says, "Thank you, my brethren. As a reward, I shall turn your rocks into bread." Thus everyone has large loaves of bread, and meanwhile Judas is the only one that has a crumb and is left hungry and embarrassed. Like, wow, these just two lines have so much depth. I love every part of it. How many Judases done let me down? But effort, the West's mine, we right now. The Judases refers to obviously Judas, who we mentioned before, known for betraying Jesus Christ, but Kendrick uses this metaphorically to describe those who have betrayed him or disappointed him. And he uses the metaphor before in an unreleased track on Tip of Butterfly Era called Burn. Judas sitting at the table watching them eat with us. Judas caught a bullet quick, keep the receipt. And of 2025, the year of the song's release, Kendrick has overcome betrayal and solidified his status as the current face of West Coast hip hop scene. And some recent achievements just being incredible, like breaking the Super Bowl halftime show with 133 million viewers, getting 5 Grammy Awards, Record of the Year, Not Like Us, first US lead artist to reach 1 billion Spotify streams across all credits. It's just absolutely incredible. Therapy showed me how to open up, but it also showed me that I don't give an F. So therapy is treatment, to help people with their mental or physical disorders, but in these lyrics, Kendrick is likely referring to the mental issues that caused him to go to therapy, and also his 2022 album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, as he opens up about his traumatic experiences that he's endured, such as witnessing his mother, and losing some of his closest friends. Previously, Kendrick had the belief that he didn't need therapy because he felt that he should just man up and move on from this trauma. However, because of his therapy, Kendrick has learned not only how to cope with the trauma, but also how to believe in himself more. And the second disc of the Mr. Morale album dives deeper into Kendrick going to therapy and saving himself. And in the track Mirror, the album's closing track, Kendrick sings about the personal growth that he's endured since going to therapy. And he says, "I choose me, I'm sorry." LeBron also posted the lyrics on the Instagram story, and also the 2 lines were first revealed in Clipse's interview with GQ, in which it was revealed they had left Def Jam because they sought to remove the feature from the song. I really like this. Therapy showed me how to open up, but it also showed me I don't give an F. Like, it shows you how to open up and be vulnerable and come to terms with trauma and everything that you're facing, but it also shows you that there's a lot of things that people care about they shouldn't really care about. You should only care about the things that you're in control of. That's very, very important. The 2-time Gemini with the genocide. So Kendrick mentioned his zodiac signs on many tracks prior to this one, as Kendrick's a Gemini. Also could be a reference to the song on Dr. Dre's album called Genocide, and also could be the second genocide. In the language of astrology, Kendrick has a Gemini sun sign, but also a natal Gemini Venus placement. Considering Kendrick mentions his own zodiac signs many times prior to this one, and how he kills other rappers, which fits with the genocide line, this being about Trump, which could very likely be a reach. But I also think the last part of this verse, it could be rapping from Trump's perspective due to the mentions of Gemini and all the other like presidential references, which we'll go through later. I'm generous however you want it, I'll be the gentle kind. Gentlemen and gangsters connect, the agenda of mine. Move dudes up out of here, this ish get gentrified. So, offers the two sides, being the gentleman, symbol of respectability, but also the gangster, a figure rooted in survival. His agenda to unify these seemingly opposing archetypes, exemplifying both civility and aggression, elegance and edge. This duality is core to Kendrick's artistry. As you know, he moves like a scholar and a soldier mashed into one. But also, the line carries a much darker double, meaning move dudes up out of here. This ish get gentrified, direct reference to gentrification, process which by black and brown communities are systematically displaced and replaced with wealthy, often white residents under the guise of revitalization. And Kendrick flips it, as in his world, he's the one doing the gentrifying, clearing out the fake, the weak, the non-believers in both the rap game and the streets. And still the line cuts even deeper if you look at it now when placed in the historical context. The US government and broader systems of power helped create the ghettos through redlining, discriminatory housing policy, and the intentional disinvestment, only to later reverse course and remove the people they had forced into these neighborhoods. The gangster was criminalized and the gentleman imported, often white, affluent, marketable, and Kendrick exposes this hypocrisy of that cycle by embodying both figures within himself. So he critiques the duality forced onto black men in America, and their self-awareness mirrors the reflections in tracks like The Black of the Berry and Savior, where he reminds listeners not to place him on a pedestal. I am not your savior. Heavy jeans like Genovese, so heavy jeans like jeans, blue jeans, Genovese, the crime family, and also the origin of denim. But keep in mind the historical, cultural, and linguistic significance of blue jeans, a name for French origin Genovese invention, would one day become the most worn and loved garment in the whole world. And also, if you remember at the Grammys, Kendrick was wearing like double denim, or the Canadian tuxedo. He was wearing, the jean jacket and the jeans on the bottom. So yeah, a very, very simple, slick line. I'll drop your pentagon, then show up at your gender reveal and tell him, give me mine. So crazy. I drop your pentagon is a layered metaphor as he uses pentagon in a few different ways. First likely refers to the fine families of New York, the mafia, the Genovese, which is mentioned in the line previous, who together represent a powerful organized structure of criminal influence. And he also says, I drop your pentagon, claiming he brings down all five sides of the power structure, a symbolic takedown of an entire hierarchy. On another level, it could be Kendrick evoking the actual Pentagon, being the headquarters of the US Department of Defense, say he'll drop it, implying he has the strength to bring down even the most fortified institutions. But if you look on a more metaphorical level, Pentagon being referring to the 5-point structure tight in a circle, as in someone's crew. Could also be, the pentagram represents the 5 elements in mysticism. Kendrick positions himself as someone who can dismantle the natural structure, implying he can erase not just your people, but your identity, purpose, and foundation. This is so layered. And finally, he says, show up at your gender reveal and tell him, give me mine. So he takes on, the joyful moment where you're at the gender reveal with your family and friends, but makes it into a more like hostile takeover as he crashes the event to claim, lineage, paternity, and dominance over the future itself. He's not only sunning his rivals, being other rappers, but he's inserting himself into the bloodline of it. It connects directly with the next line where he tells us, that he sons these dudes. And give me mine. It's even harder when you realize it could be, a few different ways, as a biological paternity, suggesting Kendrick's influence is so strong that everyone could be his child, but also seen as a declaration of artistic legacy, as he's owed respect, credit, and status because he birthed the style, the culture, and the game. And thirdly, the gender reveal, the reference to Pusha T's diss track towards Drake, Story of Adidon, function as a twisted public gender reveal for Drake's child, Adonis, and years later, Kendrick showed up to continue the beef and saying, give me mine, and he's demanding his turn, and it's safe to say he took it. But also Kendrick is saying that he can be a better dad than Drake, and then he can give Adonis advice and listen to Meet the Grams when he's 18. So there's just so much packed into like these 1.5 lines. Sensational. I son dudes, I am the general, where my gin and juice. So each part of this line refers to a different aspect of Kendrick's beef with Drake, where Kendrick says is sunning Drake, and also Pusha T's diss track where he reveals that Drake is hiding a child. But the word son could also be a callback, to Kendrick's own diss track Meet the Grahams, where he talks to Drake's son and explains he could be a better father and mentor than Drake ever could. And also, the second phrase, I am the general, can be interpreted as a flip of Drake's line from, the Heart Part 6, where he says, I'm a war general seasoned in preparation. And then in his less than successful response to Kendrick's Not Like Us, Drake also complained that he prepared for the beef, even though it's widely considered that it's widely considered that Drake is lost, obviously the beef. Kendrick is figuratively stripping the title from Drake, claiming that he is the general, and he further asserts this right to the throne in asking for his gin and juice, as it could be a retort to Drake's claim on Family Matters, where Drake tells Kendrick, we know you like to put gin in your juice. Drake insinuates that Kendrick postures as a black savior, but he actually likes more gin in his juice. And obviously Snoop Dogg's classic, gin and juice. But also by reusing the term, Kendrick is not only asserting his superiority over Drake, but also could be making a connection to Not Like Us, where Drake, where he orders Drake to fetch Gatorade or something, because he's the water boy. But then obviously Kendrick has the sponsorship, like the advertisement with Gatorade. Every song is the book of Genesis. Let the sonics boom. So in the first part of the line, Kendrick states that his songs are Genesis, being the first book in the Bible, Genesis being the book that outlines the basis of which God creates the heavens and the earth, as well as the fundamental philosophies of Christianity. Essentially, Kendrick is saying that his songs will set the groundwork for the new era of hip-hop, similar to how Genesis does for the Bible. In the second part of the line, Kendrick is saying, let the sonics boom. It could have multiple meanings, sonic meaning related to sound, as to tell people to blast his music, or as a message so that everyone will hear how the landscape Kendrick is attempting to build will be run. Sonic also referring, to Sonic the Hedgehog, the video game character, originated on the Sega Genesis and later installment on the Sonic Boom. Additionally, the Genesis Wave is a subject that appears in Sonic the Hedgehog comic series and its spin-offs published, comics. It is a phenomenon created by using the energies of Chaos Emerald to rewrite reality to benefit the benefit. Every song is the book of Genesis, let the sonics boom. Very, very layered one line. Dudes want tea on me, well here's the ginger root. I generate residuals, B, get off my genitals. They said I couldn't reach Gen Z, you effing D-heads. You must be full of that ginseng, here comes the jinx. Kendrick flips the slang, being tea as in gossip, inside info, and responds with ginger root, a sharp, cleansing herb. Instead of giving the sweet tea or drama that they want, he offers the truth that's raw, healing, and potentially hard to swallow. Kendrick, known for the type to be honest in his Mr. Morale album. Ginger also burns, it's spice, it's not sugar, implying that the info he gives is potent and may sting, not easy to take and performative. I generate residuals, B, get off my genitals. He rides the alliteration and the internal rhyme between generate, residuals, and genitals, bragging about the money he makes passively, residual income from music, business, etc. The line also serves as a classic flex, stop riding me, stop deriding, aimed at critics, imitators, and clout chasers, but also his direct follow up to those seeking tea on him, making money on him, period. They said I couldn't reach Gen Z, you F&D heads, a direct rebuttal to the industry's skepticism. Critics often wonder if Kendrick's dense lyricism can connect with younger audiences, being Generation Z, who supposedly lean towards simpler, more melodic rap, like mumble rap, emo rap. Kendrick doesn't just brush off the doubt, he slams it with aggression, calling out the ignorance of doubters who misread his cultural reach. Finally, he brings it back to not wanting tea on him, but he also said he's going to offer you something rawer than the ginger root. But now he's saying they're full of ginseng. You must be full of that ginseng. Here comes the jinx. Yeah. Ginseng is the dried root of a plant which is native to North America and East Asia, used medicinally to improve one's immune system and boost energy. It's a temporary fix. So Kendrick is saying, here comes the jinx. That he's signaling he's the curse, the reason that the energy you're hopped up on fades. You might be hyped up on fake energy, but he is the real consequence of it all. Incredible. They genetics, bin synthetic, they screaming they genius. So there's really only one person that screams that they're being genius, which is Kanye West, of course. Genetics and bin synthetic might be a reference to not only Kanye, but his late mother and ex-wife, all partaking in various forms of plastic, being synthetic surgery. And in March 2025, an unprovoked Kanye lashed out on Kendrick's features on Playboi Carti's album I'm Music, stating he doesn't like his music. doesn't need to hear him on the album. And these tweets continued with Kanye saying he hated Not Like Us and expressed his jealousy over Jay-Z choosing Kendrick to do the Super Bowl over himself. Finger wave, they all fall, dudes is Jenga. So Jenga, you know, being the board game where you stack the bricks until it topples and you have to take one out from the bottom, put it back on the top. And Kendrick compares the shaky convictions of a false prophet when they are challenged in the slightest, a figurative finger raised at them, to that of a literally shaky Jenga tower often toppled by the slightest finger movements. This line is similar to another line from Kendrick's diss track Euphoria, where he rapped, "I wave one finger and thump y'all dudes like, A finger wave, they all fall, dudes is Jenga." So he just waves his finger, they all fall. Jenga, you're trying to take the pieces out with your fingers and you're maybe shaking nervous and it trembles, and then all the bricks fall and collapse. God gave me light, a good year full of free will. So Kendrick is currently on one of the greatest runs of any hip hop artist ever, after beating Drake in the rap beef, you know, with Not Like Us being one of the biggest songs, DNX being one of the biggest albums, Luther being #1 on the charts forever. He's had a really, really good year, also doing the Super Bowl, winning the Grammys and all that, but also, you know, good year being the tire company, free will, spare your life, spare tire, spare wheel. Kendrick's got it in the stash. Try to burn him, he'll have another year. He'll have another one. God gave me light, you know, back on Watch the Party Die. God give me life, dear God, please give me peace. Kendrick has found the light. You know, therapy showed him how to open up, but he's still ready to attack during his good year through disses and, you know, the industry and watching the party die. And the final line on this amazing Kendrick verse: "Trump card told me not to spare your life, mother effer." The trump card is something that gives you an advantage over other people. Spare your life could be a reference to the, you know, the near miss of his assassination or failed assassination. Additionally, a Trump gold card is a $5 million residency and a citizen permit for the United States. And this Trump card line being, you know, used as a false reason for why they wanted to take Kendrick off this album, off this track, and, you know, Def Jam dropping the Clipse and Clipse having to pay it out just to release this album and this verse. And then once again finishing with the outro with Pharrell Williams. To be honest, the track Chains and Whips is just incredible. You've got 3 great verses from Malice, Pusha T, and Kendrick. You got insane production by Pharrell Williams. I just love how this track sounds. This track was highly anticipated. I loved every moment of it. The bars, just listening to it for the first time, start to finish, but I just want to keep listening to it and just keep enjoying it, because it's just really great lyrical rap from all 3 individuals involved, and just having Pharrell orchestrating the production, you know, the puppet master, just all 4 of these geniuses in music together created something sensational, incredible, and I'm sure it will be timeless as well. Thanks for watching this song appreciation of Chains and Whips by Pusha T, Malice, Clipse, Pharrell Williams, and Kendrick Lamar. If you like what you saw, please like, subscribe, and comment down below other artists, albums, genres, songs, and music that you like me to listen to, appreciate, and make videos about. Thanks for watching. See ya.